Welcome to Aurora's podcast, where we talk about children's books and adult discussions, as well as other media. It's about sharing perspectives, educating and helping each other so that we can affect how we relate these messages to our children. Smash that like button, share, and subscribe.
Nana said that drink is for grown folks.
All right. To kick it off, I do want to get you guys feedback on the read aloud itself. I noticed I had an outdoor track playing, and I don't know if that interfered with you hearing all of the reading or not.
The sound quality seemed just right to me. I heard every word enunciated. I think it was pretty good, and I like the fact that it was a child's voice. I think it was done very well.
Close yours. Any other comments on the read aloud, guys?
It was good. I heard everything. Very, very good.
So there was one point in the questions I'm going to ask that's not here that I wanted to mention. In the portion where Nana was showing that this table that she was at was for grown folk, when it was going to the next page, Olivia was like, but they have cakes and chips and stuff. Like, that's not, like, this is the grown folk table, but they got all the goodies. And I'm like, that is confusing messaging. So I just wanted to highlight that.
But it's honest messaging, because that does happen at gatherings. Like the adult table, sometimes the adult cooler has sodas in it too. Sometimes the adult table, has stuff that is very attractive to kids too. That does really happen at real events.
You're right. I just wanted to highlight that because that's something to think about. Maybe it'll come up again later. But
Well, the
I had cut that out.
The conversation, even though the goodies are at the grown folks table, like she said, that happens in real life events. That's me. It happens in real life events, but also it helps them to differentiate what's theirs and what's not theirs at the grown folks table. It happens in real life, so you have to teach them everything at the grown folks table is not always for grown folks. Sometimes there'll be the cake, the cookies, and the soda. Like I said, the coolers always have the sodas and the beers and all that stuff in it, but they learn to differentiate. And so with your graphics in your book, it also helps them learn that next step. Like, okay, this is beer, this is for grown folks, but this is soda, this is for you. So it's real life.
I appreciate that feedback on you guys. If you have any comments about the whole book in and of itself, go ahead. Anyone can start.
Well,
I'm raising my hand. I don't know if you can see me. Can you see me?
Yeah, yes, we can.
Okay. I just wanted to say I like it. I had like Olivia's little dum at the end. That was really cute. I like that you involve her in everything you're doing, though. I really do like that. It just, it helps her learn more, and it helps her become more well-rounded. And I do like the topic, because that is very true. I just had a discussion with Ava this morning. I have little alcohol bottles in my refrigerator, and Ava likes to cook. So she looked at me and was like, "Mom, what is that?" I said, "That's adult drink." She said, "Can I drink that?" I said, "No, it's for adults." And she was like, "Is it going to make me sick?" I said, "Yes, at this age, it's going to make you sick." And she's like, "Okay, I don't want none." And that was it. Zoe already knows. But yeah, I just talked to Ava about it. Tori, nobody want to talk to you. Huh? Nobody talk to you. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, that was it.
I know tonight you're just joining us. We did the read aloud already, but as we go through the questions, you know, you can always hop in. If no one has any other
Yes.
comments about the read, I'm going to go into the first topic for discussion. So, what are some ways to have this conversation with children?
Well, sometimes the conversation don't happen till the circumstances arise. Like, you don't even, most adults don't even think to tell children, oh, that's for adults only, until they see it and ask for it. And that's real life. But I guess that's the starter. When they ask for it, you go, no, that's for grown-ups. And how in the book is thoroughly explained, you know, you drink this and it can make you sick and it can make you this and it can make you that, which is good. But I'm surprised the question didn't come up, well, why, you know, why can't I drink it still? Because y'all still drinking it, you know? But that's a topic for another day, or in the event it happens at that moment, you can say because your little body can't handle it. You know, adult, you have little people parts, we have big people parts. So we, you know, digest or whatever that differently.
I think that front loading things for kids is always important. So if you're doing read alouds with your kids, which all parents should be doing, you should be reading to your infants and your toddlers. I think books are a great way to introduce any topic. Just like way back when I was little, we had the stranger danger books. How do you talk to your kids about strangers? You do it with a book. You know, Reading Rainbow used to be around Sesame Street. There were things that were reading books. And I think bringing books into your home on a wide variety of topics is very important for developing so many skills in your children, sitting and listening, engaging in conversation, you know, even asking them questions about the book after you finish reading it. So yeah, most kids encounter that first experience with some adult is either plucking their lips or popping their hand because they have put an adult drink to their mouth. And that is their first experience with alcohol. Like they're getting thumped, screamed at, or popped for something they had no idea about. No idea. They showed up to that cooler. They saw a colorful label. Hey, I never saw this soda before. And in innocence, they pick it up, pop it open, and start drinking. And then some adults like, hey, pop, pop, pop. And you know, they're like, whoa, I was just, you know, dang, why you do me like that? Like, why? So I think our primary level of defense or exposure could always come through books and education and videos and conversation. Before we go to auntie party, there's going to be coolers there with stuff that you can't drink in there. So if you don't have a book, you can always, we go into the family reunion, we go in here, have those authentic conversations with your young children.
I agree. Books are very important to introduce new subjects, but this book in particular, I think it's fantastic. I've never seen a book with this dialogue in it about, you know, the grown folks drink. You know, you see, I think you did one where the family home caught on fire, and I've seen books along that nature, but this one, I've never seen one discuss grown folks drink. So I think you ping that one for future reference for children and adults to share in together, so that before the situation happens, the discussion can happen.
You look beautiful, Zoe. I'm going to go into the next question. I'm going to start with a general knowledge. In like the UK, 15 and over, kids are known to drink, but legal age is 18 and over. In the US, 21 and over in most states. But what do you think a reasonable age is for drinking? Go ahead.
I don't know, cause I see in some countries, cause we done started traveling, and I see that some countries they don't really have a age requirement. And I notice when they don't really have an age requirement, they don't have it's not such a big deal there. You know what I'm saying? Because if you've been doing it since you've been young, you know what I'm saying? Because this might be crazy to some, but Dad has given us alcohol before, but it wasn't a large amount, and it was natural. You know what I'm saying? You know that bottle neck called Roots. Daddy used to have some. I thought he gave you some before, but he used to have some, and he gave us just a little bit, just to taste it. You know what I'm saying? And it was never really a big deal to me. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, when we went to other countries, drinking was never really a big deal either. You know what I'm saying? Because they've been introduced to it from the beginning, and they were told, you do it responsibly, you do it in the care of your own home or at a social gathering. You don't drink to get overly intoxicated. If you're gonna do this, make wise decisions. And like I said, they don't treat it as like it's such a big deal. So that's why I said I don't really know what's the exact age.
I definitely understand you, and that's definitely cultural. In different cultures, it's kind of normal, especially if it's starting off medicinally.
Yeah.
And that can grow depending on what it is exactly and the ways to find. It may not even seem like it's alcohol to them because it's distilled roots or some kind of tincture that they've always made through the generations of their history, and it's used for XYZ. It's used to go to sleep. And even in a lot of our cultures, like it's put the Jamaican rum on the baby forehead, help them sleep, on a little cloth or whatever. The fumes, sometimes it's different. People say it for different things. Sometimes they say it's for fever, it's for cold, 3 different things, and that's using it for another purpose. But it still shows that culturally, alcohol, what we might call it, is different for somebody else. And when they start introducing it, is when they feel it's necessary. Or when they feel like, depending on the occasion, this is the norm. You have cultures where they have different events for someone moving on to another stage in life, graduating, reaching a certain age, and it's customary to have a particular type of alcohol that's passed around, and that's traditionally done. Doesn't matter the age. I do feel like in America, it's a lot of the times they deem that the average adult could handle at 21, even though it used to be younger, it used to be 18 and over, excuse me, that they can handle alcohol. I don't know what the scale is on that. I'll have to look that up and why. But that debate has come up a lot because, they send, I want to call them kids, to war at 18. We'll give them a gun, but then they can't have alcohol
11:30
or smoke cigarettes. So that's a whole other topic. But in this case, it's social. It's a social point at what age is okay and is allowed. Go ahead, Tada.
I feel like there really shouldn't be an age requirement, but I feel like in America, the issue is that there's not a lot of respect for the household. Families are always like, having to go to work, they're absent from their kids, daycare. So there's not really a sense of like you having somebody there to really show you how to use these things appropriately, because everything is a tool. Like you said, people use it for sickness, people use it to go to sleep. So when you have not someone there to really help you guide, then that means you can abuse it easier. And everybody loves America because we have so much freedoms, but at the same time, everything gets abused here. So that's why you have other countries that allow you to use it at or drink at 15 or even younger, just because there's more of a family base there. And I don't know. I just feel like generally, globally, there shouldn't. If there's one number, they really can't really put that, because everybody's different, cultures are different, places are different, and it's really at this point up to the leaders to decide and the people who we submit our citizenship to really dictate that for us. But in America, I feel like we can't handle it. We can't handle letting kids drink younger because there's not a really big family involvement here. Yes,
Go ahead, Lucy.
I think rules come into play because somebody messed up. Work in Dollar Tree. And we get a warning that you have to be 18 to buy a lighter anytime it's scanned. And then we also get the warning for fireworks and certain medications. But that's based on because somebody messed up. Y'all remember back in the day, people were giving their kids NyQuil to go to sleep? Because somebody messed up. And it's other countries, they don't have the rules that we have. We make a lot of things taboo. And in making it taboo, young people tend to try it more often. And also, like Tabia said, there's a lot of lack of guidance. There's a lot of lack of instruction when it comes to certain things. Because when my kids were little, because I live in a multicultural home, when they were teething, they had rum rubbed on their gums, which may ease the pain a little bit. But in the eyes of the law of the United States, that's a criminal offense. You get what I'm saying? So it's a double-edged sword here. We make like nudity is taboo, alcohol is taboo, smoking is taboo, but you just jump across the water, they smoking, drinking, doing drugs and everything, and there's a lot less incidence of crime. There's a lot less incidence of abuse. There's a lot less incidence of violence. And I wonder why. I don't have the answer, but we make it taboo and you know, everything's a criminal offense. But in those countries, they don't have those issues. So I don't know how or what the regulation is or should be as required by age limit, because a lot of times the body and nature says you should not have this at a certain age, but depending on what you're using it for, it can be very helpful, because you can give an 8-year-old that has epilepsy marijuana and they don't have seizures anymore. But in certain states now, it's still against the law. So I don't know. I wouldn't know the answer to that question when it comes to age limits placed on things. So that's a good discussion.
So I'm gonna jump in right after Lucy, because okay, my mind is thinking on two different mediums. All right. First of all, alcohol has no nutritional value. Point blank, it has no nutritional value. It does not. Outside of medicinal purposes, it has no reason to assist the body outside of medicinal purposes. It has none. So follow me. In America, the reason why it's so weird here is because capitalism drives everything. We make it taboo because when you make anything taboo, people want it more. And when you want it more, you buy it more and you spend more money on it. Okay.
And that's where the abuses come in. You're right.
And you will have children who want to have these parties unsupervised, the lack of guidance, and they will find somebody who is just at that age that can buy it because it's so taboo. So a lot of the stuff that's pushed on into our culture comes purposefully. It is designed that way. It was designed that way purposefully to promote capitalism. Why are alcohol sales so high in America? Because it's taboo. Period. So these 18, 17, 15, 14-year-olds find their adult cousins to purchase alcohol for them because of the taboo aspect. But I really believe that capitalism and marketing has done that. If you look at commercials, a lot of commercials that happen in America don't happen abroad. And I was told that abroad, they don't even have medicine commercials, but we have commercials for all kinds of medicine. And here, when the people in the commercials are drinking beer, they're young, they fine, they sexy, they're having fun. So we have been mentally brainwashed to believe in order to have fun, in order to be sexy, in order to, be living it up, you got to be popping champagne, you got to be squirting beer all over the place because it's so sensationalized. It's going to make money. It's going to make money. And so, yeah, when a 17-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 14-year-old say, oh, that's how you do it up. You get on a ship and you pop a bottle and you squirt it all over everybody. Because that's what looks so glamorous. And so in America, it's over sensationalized, which promotes marketing and sales. Because honestly, outside of medicinal purposes, alcohol serves no assistance to the human body. It is detrimental, it is deadly. Unless you are using it for medicinal purposes to ease pain, thin blood, if it's not being used for its original design to calm your nerves, and in all of those ways, those mediums that are medical, it should be monitored and measured. So outside of medicine, alcohol serves no purpose. But they have made us think it does because it's at every celebration, it's everywhere, and we are believed that in order to have fun and turn up, alcohol has to be there.
You kind of rolled right into the next set of questions, but before I touch on that, I do want to piggyback off of what Tada and Lucy said together, because one, on the strength of somebody messed up, for one. When it comes to alcohol, definitely, because we have, I don't know how many articles you can get, how many tales you can hear about the horrible things that happen in history when it comes to kids and alcohol. Everything from just neglectful parents, letting them just drink it, kids with mental health issues or debilitating diseases getting their hands on it, and fatal consequences. And that goes right into what Tada was saying about family. Even though we touched on culture, when we talk about culture, a lot of times that's a whole family tradition in their usage of the alcohol. And when you have that family and that community who are all kind of following the same traditions, socially, this is what they practice. It's a little different than just commercial alcohol being available for a kid that hasn't grown up in a household where discussions were had, events maybe have been had, the use of certain ones that are in the household, they know the difference between this is medicinal, this is for recreation, this is for a certain type of events. It's like, because that is absent from, I want to say, the general communities where these laws started, it's because somebody messed up, or it might have gotten to a point where it was tight within that community, but then it got out, especially when it comes to America. You have a lot of cultures and groups that have their own traditions, and they don't let American laws penetrate their household and their community. But when it leaks out, we kind of want to crack down and say, as a whole, we need to make a law as a whole, because they heard something from another community, or it was an incident of this happened, somebody messed up or wasn't paying attention, and it got out. So, we have our mandated reporters, we have ECS, stuff like that. And this is a bigger and more systemic issue of something that is going on in the household itself rather than in society. And now rolling into what Gloria was saying, which takes me into the next question of, do you currently think that the messaging out here is persuading or preventing young adults and kids from drinking alcohol, and comparing that to the past and now, because from my perspective, it's gotten better in a sense. I feel like we are focusing on other things. It's still there, but not as much in the past, where it was in every music video. It was freely advertised. Now there's so many laws and the FCC that gets involved with the type of imagery you can put out there. So just to kind of bring up the question, do you think the current messaging is kind of persuading or dissuading and preventing young adults and children from using alcohol?
I feel like it's a little bit of both, because like Gloria was saying, it's still heavily shown in like music videos, TV shows, movies. But when you're in school or when you go to the doctor's office or stuff like that, they try to tell you, don't drink and drive. Because I think at our school, or when I was in high school, every year they did this demonstration of how drinking affects you, like especially during prom. Yeah. So, like I said, I think it's like mass media is kind of promoting drinking irresponsibly, but it's like locally they are trying to change that view, if you understand what I'm saying.
Explain a bit more what you mean locally.
Because it's like I said, like the schools in our area, like I said, when you go to the doctors and they ask you questions, when you even when you talking to other people, parents, other children, they know it's not a good idea. You know what I'm saying? They know you shouldn't do it. But like I said, at the same time, when you watching, these TV shows and movies and music videos, it's promoting that. You know what I'm saying? It's like Gloria was saying, it's like when when she said how they portray the image of what's going on when you're drinking. Like I said, it's always between the person always looks young, sexy, between the ages of like 18 and 25. You know what I'm saying? They always either at a house or some club or something like that. It's just the way they portray it that makes it seem like they are trying to persuade you to drink at a young age. But like I said, locally, it seems to be different.
Got you. Go ahead, Tada.
I feel like it's not ever going to be one answer to these questions, especially dealing with America, because everybody got their separate initiatives here. People coming all over the world to live their American dream. You have people already here trying to be conservative. When it comes to the people in the music videos, I feel like they promoting it because they know that when you're intoxicated and then listening to a song, that song sticks with you. It has a heavier influence upon you and thus makes them more music, thus gives them more popularity as an artist. So they're not even really caring about your health at the end of the day. They're trying to put money in their pockets. And then you have politicians. It's always I feel like at first it was just like, I don't even know when I first was because I'm only like 22, but they only want to make it a problem when it starts affecting their kids, or like when it comes to our communities and, oh, well, I see this here and I see this here. Yeah, you're going to see it now becoming an issue because a lot of these white people in politics, higher ups, their kids are starting to get their hands on it. And it's starting to make them feel away. And now they're trying to change up. They're starting to redirect the message. Or sometimes you have total TV programmings that say different things because they know who's watching. And they look at that from a higher level. We don't see that. I don't have the big board on what's going on in everybody's household, but it does happen where this is a majority program viewed by white people. These are the commercials that we're going to put here. This is a program majorly watched by Black people. This is what we see. And even when it comes to the schools, our schools are integrated now. So the messages are going to be different versus when it was all segregated. So mass media, it's like it's even though it's for the masses, it's still very much targeted in my opinion. And then you have America, the home of the free, all your freedoms, live your life. People don't really like look at it in a way where it's like they're taking in account how this is hurting me. All they know is I'm free to do this, and that's where abuse comes in. So yeah, I feel like America is just like it's just a big problem that we gotta deal with, and you have to have discernment. And it goes back to your families trying to just teach you again and not let the world teach you, because they will. If they can capture a soul every day, they're gonna do it. They're gonna try their best to do it. Excuse me. And also, when it comes to like shit, like you know how we all have these like what's the word where kids just like foster care, and then you have I don't know, DSS. You have everybody like raising your kid except for the people and the cultures that they were originally assigned to. So sometimes those kids get the chance to ingest a different type of, I would say, message. But for the most part, if you're being raised by your own family, like I feel like that's where you can have more jurisdiction on what your kid is actually using the alcohol for. But until that actually happens, which I don't really see it happening, I feel like person is getting worse because social media is raising people nowadays. Your homeboys are raising people nowadays. I feel like it's getting worse. It's not getting better. I feel like it's getting worse, but that's I'm gonna stop right there.
I want to jump right in where Tabia left off. And am I on? Okay. So I want to jump right in where Tabia left off, and going back to that, she keeps like going back onto the family. And that made me think of something when she was talking about family earlier. See, what we fail to realize in America, because of so many of these freedoms, you have families out here dealing with alcohol abuse. So if your children are watching two alcoholic parents or alcoholic aunts and uncles at the barbecues getting drunk, being belligerent and stuff like that, those toxic behaviors are normalized. So children are looking like, oh, this is what adults do. All the men in the family get under a tree and drink till they're oblivious, fall out and curse everybody out. So even though we place the responsibilities back on families, a lot of families are sending bad messages to their children because all their children see is the abuse of alcohol and other substances. So when children are, when it's normalized, even though we would think, you know, like in other cultures, like how Destiny was saying, they've been traveling and they say it's not even a big deal. It's not even a big deal. But because of the messaging in America, there are kids watching all the time. They have access to alcohol all the time and people around them all the time. But the messaging that they're getting is very bad. So the education they get about alcohol for the first time that it's bad is at school or on that one public service announcement that says, hey, don't drink and drive. Or they see the mangled up cars around prom time, you know, around prom time, that the community starts setting out and say, hey, this happened in 1992. This person was in a car accident. And kids are like, how did that happen? Drinking and driving. And some kids, that's their first message that, oh, drinking is actually harmful. So in the land of the free, in the home of the brave, we have a lot of systemic issues. And Tabia is absolutely right. Capitalism is very much marketed. It's very skilled. They do study after study after study after study on which demographics and what time to place something in a prime time slot. Who's watching at this time? When are the most Black people watching? When are the least amount of Black people watching? And the commercials fit. I sit with my daddy all the time watching Westerns. And the commercials on the Westerns are way different than when I'm watching Love and Hip Hop. So the social media, not social media, I'm sorry, media, commercials, and propaganda are very much pushed to different demographics because that's when they're going to get more bang for their buck. It all goes back to how do we make the most money off of indoctrinating people and getting them literally to be just like zombies. Kids are watching, you know, on social media, TikTok, even like stuff like Love and Hip Hop, Atlanta, and all of these shows where these rich, glamorous people are drinking these really expensive bottles of champagne. And now kids associate fun and wealth and opulence with alcohol. So it goes back, some kids don't have guidance. They have a lot of adults around them, but the adults are bad. Not the adults are misguided. So they don't get any positive messaging. Like Destiny was saying, she thinks it's both. When your first experience with somebody saying that what you thought was normal is bad is when you get to school and somebody finally say, yo, you shouldn't be drinking like that. You shouldn't be smoking like that. And that first experience is you're already been doing it for a long time.
You kind of went right into where I was going to kind of step on next, which was drug use. And it's the same way as alcohol, where there's a profit to be made. So how do I target the big spenders, or where I'm going to get the most bang for my buck? Target the youth, because I feel like from my generation, we have a lot less now in terms of advertising for alcohol, but we have more for drugs now, especially with the new designer things that come on the market. Weed, of course, because now the government has a way to tax it and get more out of it than they did in the past. It's legalized in a lot of places, not all, but they're making money off it. So they have to promote it. They have to push it hard. All different types, all different ways to use it with all the drugs that they have out now, and still more coming. There are quite a few documentaries and even movies I've seen, now on Netflix in particular, where they're talking about making designer drugs, and what people really want them for. But at the end of the day, it's all about, you know, whose pocket that's lining in the pharmaceutical industry, in business, in politics. I feel like what's not being discussed is why, the why. Why does this have such a huge following for children in particular? Because we're talking about relating it to children, but in America in general, there's a huge gap when it comes to mental health. And so the drinking and the drugs is something that a lot of people lean towards because we see it, like Gloria was saying, in the music videos and the social media as the feel good. People want to feel good for a multitude of reasons. So of course, this looks glamorous. And when you have an adult that is zoning in on this, it's probably in the household very often. It's probably definitely being supported and being demonstrated. So they're just picking that up. And even though you might say at the barbecues and stuff, they're falling down drunk, that person is happy with that. They're not going to give that up. And the kid is picking up that messaging too. This makes them happy. Even though it doesn't look great, they feel great. Who doesn't want to feel good? You have all these things and reasons why you should drink, why you should take these drugs. But now my question is, how do you discourage the underage drinking and drug use when you have all these outside factors?
Like Talia said, you need to start introducing it at home with your children. Speak to them about it. Well, I'm not saying give it to them now.
Yeah,
That's
so I
not
want
what
you
I'm
to
saying.
clarify.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying give it to them, but like she said, you talk to them about it from early. You know what I'm saying? Like on New Year's, Zoe will see mom pour us a bottle of something, like some wine or champagne or something, every year. Zoe has gone to the point where she don't even ask for it or ask what it is because she knows. You know what I'm saying? Like I had to talk to Ava this morning. Now they are aware. This is what that is. Now, as you get older, and if you would like to try it, you bring it to me first. You let me know first. Then we'll have that discussion because you're older and we'll decide, hey, is it okay if I introduce this to you? You can, you'll decide whether they're responsible enough to handle a sip. You know what I'm saying? Whether they can get a sip for New Year's. Because like I said, we did that for years when we was living in New York. Every New Year's, we got a little sip. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't a big deal to us. That's why, like she said, you introduce it to them, you speak to them about it from when they're young. So they know what it is. They know when it's safe to use it, when it's not safe to use it. They know what age. Okay, they know what age, and they know they can come talk to you about it.
As Destiny was talking, I giggled
Give
because
me.
I remember. Am I muted?
No, I didn't want to pause you, but today I had a hand raised.
Oh, my bad. My bad.
No, you can talk so you don't lose it. I would hate that.
Okay, but because I'm old, when when I giggled when Destiny was talking, because when I was a child, I grew up and both my parents drank heavily. Nobody probably remembers that, but they drank heavily to the point of intoxication and passing out. And they always had friends over that drank to the point of intoxication, passing out and stuff. So I witnessed that a lot from a young age. And they would leave like half drunk, half drink cans of beer and stuff that were halfway drunk, right? So I remember going around and sipping them, right? Just sipping them as a kid. And then pretending to be like I was so drunk, mimicking the adults, mimicking like stumbling around
I
and
was just about to bring that up.
acting a donkey, just like, after I took a little sip out of some random can, don't even know who mouth been on it. But as a child, when the adults were all passed out or halfway in or out, going and sipping a can, and taste was so disgusting. It was so disgusting. I'm like, why do y'all even drink this? But then I would pretend like I was so drunk just like them and fall around and bump into stuff and then fall on the floor. And as a child, I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny. But as I got older and I realized, whoa, nobody taught me. I watched. Nobody taught me. And then I got older. I'm like, oh, this is a bad thing. This is not funny and it's not nice. So I was like, when I have children, I'm not going to have alcohol in my house at all. It ain't going to be there. It ain't going to be a bunch of people in my house drinking and getting drunk and my kids be able to get a half drink can of anything. Because I don't know how I just woke up one day and be like, oh, what they're doing is wrong. I don't know what shook me to think that at around maybe 13, 14. I'm like, yo, they're doing something that I don't know if it came from school. I don't know where it came from, but I'm like, yo, what they're doing is not good. But as I remember being around 7, 8, just sipping on them cans, and it was nasty. But I'm like, I'm gonna pretend anyway. Oh, I'm so drunk, and I do remember and I remember the New Year's Eves where we got the sip. Like we got the sip. Mom, dad poured the little pain. Cheers to the good times. And we just being so grown up, and we sipping and acting like we just so drunk, and nobody stopped that. They just allowed us to role play in that moment. But I don't know where it clicked for me. Like, I'm not doing that. I don't know where it clicked for me. But I got to a point where, and I was very young, before I ever had a child, I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm just not going to do that.
Go ahead,
I was I was just gonna say that I have a real big fascination with kids. So I like to watch. So it's not even at the end of the day like the actual alcohol. Like kids are very impressionable and we don't give them enough credit for just how smart they are and how like active their brains are at that young age. And when we get older, we forget how it felt to be a kid and what our emotions were. But like association, like it comes from putting together emotions and actions. So happiness is really important to a kid. Like it stimulates them extremely. So when they see something causing other people happiness, they're going to be curious about it, which is another thing that is like is something that is heavily inside, or I don't know how to say it, but heavily like within children is curiosity. And so when we leave things to their curiosity, they're going to just go for it and try it. So I think your question was, how do we discourage that? We have to definitely study that curiosity and bring it to them. Like I was just having a conversation with somebody close. They said the kid, I think, wanted to try cigarettes. And so they was like, here, you want to try it? Here you go. And, you know, to a kid, it's not really cool to do it with your parents, but they ain't really deny it. And so when they try it, it's a thing that happens in their brain that discourages them from it because you kind of basically made it uncool, or you coughed, or it just didn't feel right. But when you're with your friends who are also under this energy of curiosity, it just it just makes everything go off the edge. And so we have to take responsibility and know that that happens to our kids, not to punish them, but to work in that curiosity. And don't be afraid to be the first one to expose them to it. Exposure is not what's the bad thing. It's again the abuse of it, the miscommunication, the ill teaching of it. And I feel like for me, my abuse, even though it's not like other stuff, but I started smoking and doing things at 12, and nobody of like older than me was there to like really describe what was going on and what was happening to my body. So all I know is that I was having a break from reality. I was having whatever was happening to me, it was just a shift, it was a change. So whenever I felt like I didn't want to feel this anymore, let me just smoke this, I was doing that without the consequence in my head of all the other things I was causing in myself as a young person. So we have to when we know that happened to us, we have to make sure that doesn't happen to our kids, and not again to be hard on them, not to act like things don't happen, but discouraging that, it can be done with so much love and so much understanding versus what people actually be giving nowadays. It doesn't have to be super taboo just because that's what the world wants it to be. We have to live in our own personal truths, in my opinion, but we really don't. We again allow people to raise our kids and allow society to raise our kids. But when we feel something is right, we just okay, well, just don't do it, you shouldn't do it, and then have no reasoning. And then you have a kid growing up with no reasoning. Like, that's not what you want, in my opinion. But I'm gonna stop there.
Go ahead, Destiny.
Tavia, most of what you said, I fully agree with. Okay. My only thing is discernment is very important when you're dealing with children and teenagers. Very important. Because like I said, I do understand that we all were children at one point. We all did shit we weren't supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? We all made mistakes. That's why I feel it is very important to talk to your child. But you do it age appropriately. Like when they're young and they come to you with these questions, you answer it. Like say Ava or Zoe come to me. Right now, those answers are gonna be broad. As they get older, the answers get more specific and detailed. You know what I'm saying? Like they know I have a vagina, and a boy has a penis. Now, when they get older and start asking more questions, then we're gonna elaborate on that. Mommy. But it's important to do it age appropriately. And certain things I don't feel like you should just say, hey, try it, because them trying it, maybe in front of you, they would say ew, but they can grow to become addicted to it. Like for it, like when you said with the smoking, that is one of the things I would never hand my child and be like, try it. Because nicotine is a strong drug and it is very hard to break. So I would speak to them. I would show them the effects. I would, like I said, describe what happened. I would tell them what's the purpose of it. And but you do have to give them room to grow on their own as well. So if they do decide it, I don't like what you're doing. I don't agree with what you're doing, but you're grown. You're an adult. You are aware of the consequences. You made your choice. I still love you. I'm still here for you if you need me. But what you're doing is stupid. I think that is very important, because I don't like when parents forget that they were once a child, and then when they kid like kind of does what they did, or maybe did something a little outrageous, they kind of like throw the kid away. And I don't feel like you should do that. I feel like every step your child takes, you should always be there to help guide them in every way possible. Even when they're doing shit they shouldn't be doing, they still need you there as an adult to say, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. I gave you the teachings. I told you what you should not be doing. These are the consequences you're going to suffer. I'm going to help you, but you're still going to suffer these consequences because you made a poor decision. That I feel is very important, because it helps them when they get older to, first of all, know how to rely on themselves. Like they know how to make a wise based decision when they become a full adult. You know what I'm saying? Like say like doing college, and it sounds stupid, but a lot of people do this. Your freshman year, you get to school, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's going out, not going to class. You see everybody going out, not going to class. And instead of you have to sit down and make that decision for yourself. Am I not going to go to class, or am I going to go to class? These are all the things that will happen if I don't go to class. I could lose my scholarship. My parents going to kick me out. I'm going to be homeless. I ain't going to get my degree. All those come from that one decision, and you are aware of that. But you are aware of that because, like I said, when you were younger, somebody was there to help you and guide you and show you how to make positive decisions, and to be aware of all the consequences that come with every decision you make, whether positive or negative. Stop pushing me. But that's it. That's all I wanted to say. But I do fully agree with what Tommy is saying.
I just wanted to say hello. I just wanted to say I agree with Tabia and Destiny. And my thing was, you have to be extremely careful at introducing kids to things that they are not ready for, because you don't know if that first taste, that first puff, that could be the start of their addiction. And my fear was, as a parent, in introducing things to my children was, well, my mama was cool with it. I drank right with her. I drank right in front of her. So when I get behind her back, how's she gonna be mad when I drunk right with her? And that used to be, you don't know until you know. You don't know what your kids are gonna do until they do it. So like introducing them to things, being their first introduction, for me, I steered away from that. I did not want their first drink or smoke or anything to be introduced by me. I always let them know, hey, this is the consequence. These things are for adults. These things hurt your brain, they hurt your body. But my kids decided to do it anyway. They did it anyway. But I just didn't want it to be from me, because I didn't want my kids to think, yo, my mom introduced me to it. My mom was the first person that did it, that let me do it in her face. So of course she's not gonna be mad when I'm doing it behind her back. So my kids always knew, my mom doesn't agree with this for me. But they
I
also
think
knew.
that it's a low-key a pride thing that some people will not be able to take. That's why you have different parents, different parenting
styles.
Yes, different parenting styles. Some of that I don't want to be the first to introduce it. that I feel like, not saying pride in the most negative way, but that is an issue with pride. I don't want my kid to go out and say that I was the one. Sometimes, I'm not trying to say I'm gonna give it to him at 6. I'm not trying to say I'm gonna give it to him at even 16, but just in general, just to say I don't want to be the first one to introduce. Sometimes, especially when we're so used to the kid being so young, and we held them, I gave birth to them, I all this like loving and emotional things, we're not ready to let go of that and just throw them into the world, like teaching them how to swim. A lot of people are not going to just throw their kid into a river to make them learn how to swim, but I know some people who will, just to get that point across. And sometimes it takes you knowing how you was a child, and sometimes not to force that onto your kid. Well, this is how I learned, this is how you got to learn. You have to, again, learn your child, watch your child. Don't sit here, well, that's how I was taught, or that's how I saw them being raised and that didn't work. Sit there and actively study everything else. Study your kid and make that decision for yourself. If it's too much for you to handle, I don't want to go out and my kids say that, then don't do that. Don't put that stress on you. But there's some parents out there who are willing to put that type of cape on just to say that my kid didn't do that behind my back. Because then they're going through something that you have no idea about and you can't help them. So if they try the nicotine, you see how they respond, then you can continue to parent them. It's not you put them in a rehabilitation center. The parenting still continues. Oh, because addiction is just part of life. Learning how to tie your shoes is a part of life. You have to deal with why you're feeling this way. Why are you even feeling that this is helping you? Like, we need to talk about this, versus them trying it from some 21-year-old who just decided to take the liberty with your kid and teach them this, and now they're sneaking behind you, and then the level of nicotine in their body is raising even higher without you even knowing about it. You can't even be a parent because you're letting the world teach them. And personally, for me, I don't really know like what I would do, but as I'm saying, like there's this style that I was saying that some parents have in discouraging their kids from drug or substance abuse.
So I was saying, definitely starting from the household and the conversations that's going on in the household. I saw when Dusty was putting up 2 fingers, Javier was talking about different parenting styles. I feel like having more than one person in the home have this conversation with them to show a united front, to show different perspectives is also very important as well. And of course, like Desi was saying, it should be done appropriately, giving them what they need at the age y'all having this conversation. Whether it is your choice in how you raise your kids and how you introduce things, but knowing that your child sees you as a God in their life, you have to be very careful in understanding that everything you say, they see as the end all be all. So having, that other person in the room, be it their father, grandparent, auntie, uncle, people of authority that they respect and trust, also share that opinion or give them some other perspective on that opinion, mindfully, depending on the age and what the subject is, I feel is very important. And it could be a way to discourage it. It is also a way to give more information, because you can discourage it all you want. It doesn't mean that they're not going to try, but having that community or that family that they feel comfortable going to them with questions. If they've tried it and maybe something's up, or if someone presented it to them and gave them information they might not entirely think is accurate, or they need to verify. Those points from each of you guys are great for ways to kind of discourage it at a young age. We touched a lot about older, I want to say kids, but young adults, 18 and over, and how this kind of shapes them in adulthood and the things that can happen And like with the example that Destiny gave with, things that could happen if you didn't go to school and college, it all goes back to, like she was saying, the foundation that you gave at home in being discerning and making the right choice based on what was instilled at a young age. I feel like this is the same way. You want to try and give, and I want to try to separate it from going at a child, like Gloria was saying earlier, their first introduction is getting yelled at, popped, and stuff like that. I want to try and highlight, we can do this with love. We can do this with conversation without four-letter words and violence. We can discourage with being informative, with not allowing per se, especially when we're talking about children in their early ages, because this is for early ages. That's where we want to start, when they're starting to walk, tie shoes, learn language, see the bottles, understand, before they even understand what is going to be pushed at them when it comes to media. I feel like the same way with drinking is with drugs, the way you present the conversation initially. And then as Destiny said, over time, getting more detailed. Don't ever forget that you need to keep having the conversation, because there are nuances, their thinking changes, and they keep, thank you for that, leading with love, and they keep having different things outside of the home come at them from different angles and giving them different information. One could be someone they know, could be junior high school, elementary school. Hey, I tried such and such and it made me feel good. And they start that whole thing that you probably see on TV, because I did the same thing. And I feel like even kids who didn't have the visuals at home or at an event, they see it on TV, on cartoons. There's plenty of cartoons where they do episodes where the character gets a little drink because they're trying to have this conversation, and they do the typical start acting weird. They have the little bubbles floating. The eyes are kind of bugging out. They're not walking regular. That's the media trying to have that conversation too, depending on where, you're putting the channel on for them to watch, or, YouTube or whatever. But if you are paying attention to what your kid is absorbing, this is where you want to have those conversations extend after they've watched that. Ask them what they think about that. Because when they're not around, say, I've seen it myself, kid get a root beer and they start acting like they're drinking real beer. And as an adult, you look at them like, it's so silly, because they don't know the difference. They just think that that's how it's supposed to be, because that's what they've seen in the media as an example of what happens when you drink beer. And that, to them, is funny. Funny feels good. So when they get to the point where they do get their hands on a real beer, it might taste nasty, but I'm going to get to feel like this and be silly. So let me keep going until I feel that, until I feel funny, until I feel happy. And then there goes that whole snowball effect and possible addiction. So does anyone have any last comments?
My final thoughts are on the book. I think the book needs to, it has a place in our culture and our society. It's a conversation starter. It's child friendly, easy to understand. And I think that it is a easier way for parents to introduce that to their young children. And even if you read the book, if they read the book a little bit older, middle elementary, late elementary, even if they read the book, it will spark conversations even amongst, their little selves, even if it's the kids talking about the book. I think that the book definitely has a place. I've never seen a book like it before. I've never seen any book address the adult, drinks at the party. So I really think that the book is a really good conversation starter and an easy way for parents who might be intimidated or feel some type of way about introducing concepts to their children, it's an innocent way to introduce a very complex, and that topic will stay with them until all the way into adulthood. But it's a great way to introduce the conversation.
Thank you. Right, if that's all, I want to thank you guys for joining me today. I appreciate all of your feedback and perspectives. We have a lot that I hope will help other people in terms of parenting and with caregivers and opening the door for this conversation. Please like, share, and subscribe if you're not already, so you can get the latest updates and get the latest conversations on Nana Said Books and other children's books. If you would like to order a copy of the book, please check us out on Amazon or roboglobal.com. That's AROARA global.com. Thank you, ladies, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
The end. Da 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 da.